if all went according to plan, this would be me, G, and Josiah talking about the Marine 4. But, well, the Marine 3 made me uninterested, although, as was promised, we will get to the Marine 4, 5, and 6. But like I said, the Marine 4 made me uninterested, and so since this is September and this is a month of celebrating Oz, I decided to rewatch a movie I enjoyed and watch its sequel or follow-up, that being Vacation Friends and Vacation Friends 2. And so this will not be a WWE Studio Slam, but it will be an all or nothing, where I, Oz, from the channel Mr. Super Oz, I break it down. I go over each one of the films and figure out if we get to keep all of the franchise or none of it. Vacation Friends came out in 2021 and it runs for 1 hour and 43 minutes. No more phone for the rest of this vacation. And boom, the phone rings. Yeah, that feels appropriate. We meet Marcus and Emily, and they are the future vacation friends of Ron and Kyla. Ron is played by John Cena, and the two couples couldn't be more different. When Marcus and Emily first see the future friends, Marcus says, "Oh, that looks so dangerous," and Emily's like, "Oh, it looks like they're having a fun time because they're on a what's it called? Not a Sea-Doo, I don't think, but maybe it is a Sea-Doo. Anyway, they're basically being reckless." Marcus intended to propose to Emily, but the room that was supposed to be perfect has been flooded by the presidential suite. It's fairly obvious that suite will be occupied by John and his lady, right? I mean, what other way is there to do this bit? Marcus is losing his cool. Not only is it revealed that the couple he thought was dangerous are the reason his room was ruined, but that the resort host guy, he accidentally let slip that Marcus was going to ask Emily to marry him. And Emily does agree, but, still wants Marcus to do the whole dog and pony show. And at this point, Cena and his lady invite the couple to join them in the presidential suite. And so much craziness happens from this point on because, again, the two couples are just off the freaking wall. When someone calls to check in on them, Cena answers the phone and says, "Yeah, we're fine. That was just my girl screaming." It's just, it's funny because Kyla believes that the walls are soundproof, but they're not. And so her screaming is what led to somebody calling to check on them. As the two couples are hanging out, Marcus, who is a successful businessman, realizes that Ron and Kyla seem to spend all of their time partying. And Marcus says, "I guess it's your welfare check I've been paying." And Ron, not offended whatsoever, says, "Possibly." While hanging out, Ron and Kyla give Emily and Marcus drinks, and they ask them, "Why does the salt not taste like salt?" And they said, "Oh, because it's cocaine." It's like, it's just time after time, crazy thing after crazy thing. At one point, I asked myself, is it the drugs that lead to Emily and Marcus continuing on hanging out with Ron and Kyla? Or what? Because when they're invited onto a big boat that Ron had rented, I'm kind of surprised and, also a little impressed that they ended up going because of how chaotic everything has been. Ron is smooth and convinces the buttoned-up Marcus to drive the boat, even though he has no idea what he's doing. And when Ron goes to get them drinks, he tells Marcus to watch out for the rocks, but he misunderstands and thinks that Ron told him that he's going to get a drink that's on the rocks. And that warning was very important because Marcus crashes the boat into the rocks that Ron had been warning him about. Marcus and Emily feel really bad about crashing the boat, but Ron and Kyla think that it's spectacular and actually a better memory than if nothing had happened at all. Which is, it's a very upbeat way to look at a very dour thing. Since Marcus felt bad, he wanted to pay back, these new friends, and they said, okay, then the next round will be on you, and boom, drinking and crazy partying ensues. There's a nice, amusing lucha libre scene where Ron says anyone could do this and pays off someone to get Marcus in the ring. I like when wrestlers turn actors and then have fun with wrestling in their movies. Don't make fun of it, but they have a good time and are playful about it. I think that's, just a nice nod to where they came from. Shock of all shocks, Marcus tells Ron he is glad that they met. This leads to Ron pulling out a gun and the two of them playing a very stupid target shooting game with a bottle on one another's heads. After Marcus accidentally shoots Ron, Emily and Marcus get an ancient Aztec or I don't know, whatever culture, marriage ceremony thing, followed by some cliff diving madness. And once again, more partying because that's just what they do, Ron and Kyla. The next morning, Marcus and Emily, they rush to the airport, but Ron and Kyla are already there. Ron gets super intense when Marcus tries to return a pair of sunglasses that he had borrowed, because Ron believes that they have a much closer bond than Marcus does. As Emily and Marcus are trying to catch their flight, Marcus asks, "Why did you say see you later?" That leaves the door open. And then Emily's like, "Well, why'd you say for farewell?" And he's like, "Because that's final. That's like, donezo." After this exchange, the movie jumps 7 months into the future, where Marcus and Emily are having a small, in quotation marks, family wedding. Although it isn't small at all, because Emily's family seems to have invited everyone and made this just a humongously awkward time, especially for Marcus, given that he didn't invite anybody that he's close to, not from his construction company his parents are there, but like most people he cares about aren't with him. When confronted by his brother-in-law about not having friends, Marcus says, "I have great friends. You can't handle my friends." And here comes Ron and Kyla driving a truck through a fancy fence at this, country club, golf course thing. And crazy is just like the word that comes to mind when I think about this show, because more crazy fun. Ron tells Marcus that he's glad they're not late, and Marcus lets them know that there's no room available. And Ron and Kyla, they don't care. They say, we'll shack up with you Mexico style. Emily's dad calls out Ron and Kyla for their behavior. But as soon as Ron stands up for himself and reveals that he's a veteran, Emily's dad now treats Ron as if he's his best friend. And this really affects Marcus, because Emily's dad's never really been on his side or encouraged Emily to be with him, basically. And it doesn't take long before Ron and Kyla get Emily's mom on their side too. So it's basically everybody loves them except for Marcus and Emily, who thought they'd never have to see their vacation friends again. The dad tells Ron, "I hope you can join us in the morning. We have a fox hunt set up." Ron jokes and says that I found this fox, and while he pulls Kyla close. After the parents depart, Ron and Kyla tell Emily and Marcus that the doctors discovered a growth that is untreatable. Marcus and Emily fear that Kyla got cancer until Ron and Kyla reveal that she's pregnant. Marcus fears that he's the father of Kyla's baby because he flashes to some of the wild parties and everything was a blur, but he's afraid that maybe he had been unfaithful to his wife. The next morning at the fox hunt, it's revealed that it was basically it's all just a show. They're not actually hunting a fox because Marcus talks down Ron and Kyla, who bring guns and camo and all this stuff, thinking that they're actually going hunting, when in reality it's just walking some horses and looking for a fox. Ron wants to make Marcus look cool, so they break away from the whole group and they're off to find the fox on their own. But while they are away from the group, Marcus gets hungry and Ron starts handing him berries and different things until finally Ron hands Marcus a mushroom and Marcus puts it in his mouth. And before Ron can even explain what he handed Marcus, Marcus ate it. And Ron reveals that it's the strongest magic mushroom known to man. And Marcus, he yells out, he's like, how is it that everything with you becomes drugs? Which I thought was funny. So while Ron and Marcus were away, the rest of the party don't find the fox, but they hear the commotion of Marcus, and he thinks he's caught the fox, when in reality it's actually his soon-to-be father-in-law's dog, and thankfully he doesn't kill it. But once all that trip comes to an end, Marcus's soon-to-be brother-in-law comes to pick up the rings from Marcus and to hold on to them until the wedding. But Marcus, who's frustrated and mad, has what I consider to be a pretty terrible idea when he gives the wedding rings to Ron to hold, because he's his actual friend, whereas the brother-in-law isn't. And unfortunately, Ron, who is impulsive and not full of great thoughts, he decides to pawn the wedding rings so that he can then gamble money with the future brother-in-law to shut him up and try and make Marcus look cool. And Marcus freaks out that Ron pawned the wedding rings. Thankfully, they win the gambling bit, and they also make it to the pawn shop in time to get the rings back. But then Marcus accidentally drops the wedding rings down the storm drain, and this is when Marcus reaches his breaking point. He starts choking Ron. Ron says, "I'm trained to escape this, but I won't. Just express yourself." And Ron tells Marcus that Kyla is pregnant because of Marcus. And Marcus misinterprets this, thinking that, oh my goodness, he is the father, when it's revealed at the pre-wedding dinner that it was actually the cliff diving is what knocked Ron's equipment into the right place to get the job done. The movie just hits so many oddball, crazy, fun spots, and it's funny when Ron reveals the cliff diving stuff that got his equipment in order. He said, "I know I'm not supposed to talk about Mexico, but Marcus made my balls work," and it's funny. And so there's a fun Waffle House reoccurring product placement spot. John Cena's really improved from his first movie, The Marine, to 2021 here at Vacation Friends. And while I'm sure I missed some stuff and all that, this wild, fun, crazy ride gets a 4 out of 5. It's overall a good movie. And before I break down Vacation Friends 2, let me tell you about why this channel exists. This is because I, Oz, from the channel Mr. Super Oz, I wrote a 68-page graphic novel called Everlasting Survivors. This is cover A by Jeff Hicks. This is cover B by Nick Crook. If you follow the link in the description of the video, you can also get a C, a D, or an E cover. There are also posters, hats, shirts, and anybody who makes a purchase will get a Gamble Comics sticker. Thank you, and back to the review. I was busy complimenting John Cena, so I forgot to mention how the Vacation Friends 1 ended with Ron and Kyla getting married in the same ancient ceremony that Marcus and Emily did originally at the beginning of their friendship. That's important because Vacation Friends 2, which came out in 2023 and runs 1 hour 45 minutes, begins with Ron, Kyla, Marcus, and Emily all going on a honeymoon trip because, Marcus and Emily want to help their friends have a good launch to their future together. The two couples invited the hotel manager that made it possible for them to meet. Marcus is lying about the reason for this trip. It's actually happening so that he can pitch to build a 5-star hotel at the place where they're all vacationing. So while Ron and Kyla don't know the reason, because the meeting's not scheduled for, I don't know, a week or something, it's not harming Ron or Kyla that they're getting a free week hanging out with their friends. It's funny, so when they arrive, Ron opens a bottle of alcohol and all-out chaos erupts, much like the first film did on a regular basis. Ron even catches his hair on fire, which is funny because since Ron's played by John Cena, anybody who's seen John in the year of 2023 knows that he's kind of lacking in that department in certain places. Mostly in the back, obviously. The business meeting has been moved up by a week. Marcus is freaking out, which he's really good at. Oh no, this business meeting is not going to go well. Marcus was basically told that his meeting is pointless. And Marcus feels defeated until Ron saves the day, like he's so often good at doing, and he starts speaking Korean to the person who told Marcus that there was no point in him having the meeting. More chaos as Steve Buscemi shows up, and he's playing Kyla's dad, which is interesting because in the first film they had talked about how that he was no longer with us, and Marcus asked, or maybe it was Emily, but the other couple asked, has he passed? And they're like, no, he's in prison. But Steve Buscemi says a really funny line. He says that after he missed all of Kyla's special events, of course he had to crash her honeymoon, which is like, this movie is just, it's nuts. When we first meet Ron and Kyla, we thought they were crazy, but according to Marcus, he was like, we're wrong. No, we were right, because him and Emily are disputing whether or not Kyla's dad's crazy, and so he's like, when we first met them, we thought they were crazy, but we were wrong, and he's like, no, we were right, they were crazy. Oh my goodness. Steve is so passive-aggressive towards John, the character Ron, because Ron just wants Reese, which is Steve's character's name, to be happy, but Reese has like no good feelings toward Ron, which is, again, it's crazy because Ron generally is able to turn everybody to his side except for Reese, who is Kyla's dad. Well, Ron is trying to make the case to Reese about, how people see him positively. He's like, what are you going to do? Tell me you deserve a medal for bravery? And he's like, I have 8 of those, because of Ron being a veteran. It's fairly obvious from the start that Reese is doing something shady. Drug stuff, I assume, but I could be wrong. It just seems like he is still bad, even though he is out of prison. Ron and Marcus get peer pressured into surfing a very dangerous wave when the Koreans that Marcus is supposed to be pitching walk by, and Reese is being a bad guy and basically saying, their chickens are going to run away. So Marcus, who has to impress them, or feels as though he has to impress them, does something dangerous and crashes and burns and passes out, gets like he swallows way too much water, and when he wakes up, he's like, did I puke that water up? And he's and nobody can tell him, so Ron says, your butt puked it, which was crazy. Everyone loving Ron and Reese not. That's why it's so abrasive or so unexpected when Reese doesn't like him. Jan, the Korean businessman, is at a casino and a casino bar, and he's super messed up and invites Marcus to join him in drinking. This is not going to go smoothly. It never does when they party like this. But Marcus, who is so messed up from the surfing accident, he tags in Ron to take his place drinking, and on Marcus's behalf, Ron drinks everyone under the table. He even almost drank a guy to death, it looked like. Ron is crying to Reese, asking why he doesn't like him because he's so drunk. This is the worst time for Ron to be sensitive. And as Marcus says to Ron, he isn't reading the room correctly, because when Ron is trying to get Reese to open up to him, Reese says, "Oh, tell my friend here how many people you've killed," and so Ron tells him. But Marcus clearly can tell that Reese is doing something nefarious, because he was. Emily gets kicked out of the casino for counting cards because she doesn't even know what she's doing. Kyla's the one who taught her how to count cards while she was, getting up and going away. At one point, Reese sends Marcus cocaine, like 5 pounds of it. And he said, "Why?" So he asked Kyla, "Why would your father send me cocaine?" And so Ron and Kyla open the container, and they say, "This doesn't taste like cocaine." And Reese says, "That's because it's your mom." And you just and so Kyla's like, "I just snorted my mom." And Ron's like, "I did too. It was really kind of beautiful." This movie is, I don't know, it's even extra crazier than the first. Ron is so shady. He's pretending that he wants to bring everyone together, but I'm sure that he's doing something dirty. Even if Reese isn't doing bad, he has taken the couples to a very nasty place to go snorkeling. And, at this point is when it's revealed that he's out to find some, I don't know, what's the big guy's name? Something Escobar. Pablo Escobar's sunken treasure, and he steals it, but then people start shooting at him. It's just all out chaos. And when we get back from them getting shot up and all that, there's this big standoff, and the old hotel manager, he plays the role of a Pablo Escobar type to scare off the people. And this movie, to me, it's just a little under the last. Like, it's a fine film. It's a 3 out of 5, but it's not on that same level, which is interesting because they actually added an element in Reese, Steve Buscemi, but I think he almost takes away more than he adds to. So yeah, this is a franchise I think, you can enjoy all of it, but they definitely got weaker as it went along. So thank you for tuning in, and come back tomorrow and Thursday for trivia and check out my review of the first episode of WWE ECW this Friday for a Friday flashback. Thank you. Later.